Okay, so I'm recording this part actually after I already finished recording some of the lighting and shading parts. Because in my final composite, I ended up adding one additional effects element that I didn't make before. So I hadn't recorded that in the effects part of the course yet. And it's the steam coming off of the fluid that's moving across the surface. And it just really added a lot in the final composite. So I'm recording this part now. But that is why the node structure here is a little bit different. You can completely ignore that. We like when you start watching the rest of the videos, all of the other stuff will happen in there. Additional effect shot, which will then also take into the lighting and shading part of the course. So it's the additional steam, which is, so we have this explosion and we have this dropping down, and then you can sort of start seeing some additional smoke coming off of the coming off of it, and that just really helped sell a lot of the shot. There was really one element that was really missing, along with some other changes in the composite and the shading. So you can see this is now the final shot. So there's a couple of steps that we need to go through to sort of be able to emit from our fluid, because our sim here is, of course, as you know, super heavy. So we need to sort of find a way to be able to emit from it and like not be like on a way that's a little bit more efficient. So what I ended up doing is, let's just make a new node. And let's object merge in our pyro sim. So let me see where we put that. So the pyro flip. Cancel that. So that's being cached out. I'm going to merge that in to our new scene. So that will be this effect. And what we want to do is, because this is quite heavy and we cannot really just emit this into a pyro sim. Well, we could definitely just source the density from this as as density in a pyro simulation. But I decided to go a little bit of a different route, which was just a little bit faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a delete, and I'm going to delete everything apart from the density. So this is going to be the density. So that's already a little bit lighter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop down a scatter, and we're not going to connect it yet, because first let's turn off relax iterations, because this relax iterations just averages out of position. It just makes it super slow. We don't need that. I'm going to connect that. And we're going to really turn off the points. So now we have some points, and let's cache these out. So maybe let's do a little bit more. So this is of course a lot lighter than this. I mean, it's only 120 the size. Let's just cache this out. Call it, I guess, steam points, something like that. We don't want to do the entire sequence. Probably, maybe we want to start emitting around frame, what is it? Frame, let's start it at frame 50. That's also when our pyro starts. Probably we might start the actual steam later, but let's just do this thing. Right, so let's cache this out. No, we don't need to do that. Let's cache this out, and then I'll report back when that's done. Okay, so the caching finished. So if we load from disk, you can see now we have points moving across the surface. So something you could alternatively do with this is extract attributes from this volume. So for example, the density and the temperature. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to create my own temperature and density and just emit it, so it just evenly moves up. But if you wanted to have a go and see what you could do with it. You could alternatively extract the attributes from this volume, put them on the point, and then use those to sort of source your steam. I'll leave that up to you if you want to do that for your final shot. You should be able to do that. Might be a nice little extra challenge. I won't be doing that, but yeah, feel free to do that as sort of an extra challenge. So anyway, so I'm going to make a pyro source. Put it in. Going to put keep input because we already have points. And I want to create some attributes. I want to create density. I want to create temperature. So these, and again, you could extract these from the volume as well if you want to try that. Now let's do a volume rasterize attributes. Plug it in, density and temperature. So then we have this thing. We can just move through it, and it's pretty fast. Probably even dim down the resolution. We don't really need a lot of resolution on this. And now we can sort of start putting this into a pyro simulation. So let's make a dot network. Let's make a dot network. Let's make an out for this thing over here. Let's also go into our node. Let's give it a name. Call it, I guess, Steam. So, and let's also go over there. Okay, let's dive in there. Let's do a pyro solver. Do a smoke object. Let's do a volume source. Plug this thing in. We want to create two fields. Density and copy and paste that. And temperature. By the way, you could also, because we created them separately, but you could also, for example, just say density should be temperature, then you'd only need to create density on that one. But if you want separate control on these, you do it like this. Okay, so we need a bigger pyro solver. So we need to sort of have a look at how big this should be. Probably. And we're gonna tell it to be able to grow beyond these boundaries, so it shouldn't matter that much if it's too small. Let's make a gas resize fluid dynamic. Let's plug it into this thing. Let's delay it by 1 frame. Let's press play, and it's erroring. So why is it erroring? Oh, we need to put our dot network simulation. We need to start at frame 50 because our cache here, of course, that's with the error. That's why it was erroring. So we could also alternatively say to no geometry. But this will start making points at frame 50. So now this should probably work. Let's see if that's actually the case. So it is. Let's turn down the simulation like this, and let's on our gas resize. Let's go to max bound and turn off the maximum boundaries. And on our smoke object, let's move it up a little bit. Maybe we want to start emitting later. Let's try frame 80. That's probably a better point to start. Probably want to turn up our dissipation quite a bit, because the smoke is not really dissipating much. Let's make .io in this so we can have a better look at what it is that we're actually doing. Let's do smoke. You can see here we can actually sort of see what we're doing. See what happens if we really crank up the dissipation here, because still it raises up way too much. Let's go into dissipation setting and maybe control field temperature. That's fine. Let's turn down the buoyancy, maybe. Maybe with this sim, what we could do is use OpenCL. Then it will run on our GPU instead of our CPU, which will probably be faster. Yeah, you can see this is running a lot faster now for this one. And I mean, with this one, we're not really dealing with any super heavy stuff, so running this in OpenCL is fine. You could also run OpenCL on your CPU, by the way. Maybe up the cooling rate. Let's see what that does. Maybe I'm gonna source a little bit less temperature, less density as well. Let's look. Okay, so that's not really ideal. Okay, so let's just crank that up. Let's have a look in our. So our sim here remains relatively thick as well. Okay, so I think I'm gonna up the buoyancy again. And we don't really need a lot of detail. I mean, it's smoke, so. I mean, we're gonna like render this really soft and sort of gonna comp it on top very lightly. Okay, so the dissipation is a little bit extreme, maybe. Let's turn that down. Let's add a little bit of turbulence, maybe. Just with a little bit of swirl size. Not too much. I mean, we don't want it to. Let's just maybe cache this out and just see what it looks like. I mean, you could always change this stuff later, but it's gonna be fine. Let's call it Steam Sim. compress it. Even though this one is going to be quite light anyway. So let's, oh, and by the way, we threw away velocity there, which we don't want to do. Okay, so let's just recompress, update compression, use 16-bit floats. So from 30 to 15, that's great. Steam sim. Let's sim from 80 to 170. All right, just sim, see what it looks like, and then move along. Okay, so let's load from disk. Maybe the dissipation is a little bit too extreme, but I'm going to leave this like this for now. Let's just make a null. Let's make it a out. Copy it. Let's move it into a render node. RDR. Steam. Let's object merge this in here. All right, so then we can also render that later in the scene. So remember, when you're going to watch the next part of the video, these nodes are going to be gone again, but it's because I recorded this a little bit later. So it's the one FX element that was still missing. So now let's really move along to the next chapter.